Welcome to this video, EFT Tapping Stories, Emily Papirnik. Emily is the founder of Intention. She is an energetic healer, advanced EFT practitioner and a massage therapist. I am Rachel Kent and I'm pleased to talk with Emily about her story in discovering EFT. We touch on the following themes: emotional eating, releasing anger, communicating without drama, tapping on a physical issue, is the 3-day practitioner training enough, support and supervision, and EFT in schools. So fantastic having you on here today, Emily. And I'd really like to know, how did you come across EFT in the first place?
So, I was having an issue with a specific ice cream, and I used to eat sort of 6 in one go because I was rather angry, I think. But I thought I needed to do something about it. So I went to find a hypnotherapist. And as I sat down and told her my problem of eating these ice creams and eating sort of 6 in a go, rather large chocolate ice creams, and she said, "I'm not going to do hypnotherapy on you. How do you feel about doing EFT?" Now, I had heard of it. My mother had sent me a clipping about it years before, probably about 5 years before, saying, "Oh, you know, this looks really interesting." And I looked at it and just put it down. And but I had taken it on board in my head, if you see what I mean. So I knew I'd heard of it.
Did anything put you off when your mum showed you that thing? Did anything put
No,
you off?
At the time I just wasn't in the right space, and I didn't really want to learn anything new then. I was doing my massage and it was going really well.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, that wasn't an issue. But then I arrived and we started working through the tapping, and so quickly I realised, well, I had those light bulb moments of, you know, as I was talking through how I was feeling, what I was doing, I just thought, this is ridiculous. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the dog drinking water.
Oh, it's lovely. I love it.
He says it's hot too.
That line again. You said, "I think that this is ridiculous." Say that again.
So I just thought, this is ridiculous. What I'm actually coming up with and what I'm saying is crazy. And yet that is what I am telling myself all day, every day.
So like your self-talk came up. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Like how you...
Well, she asked me questions, and it's really the questioning, isn't it, of the therapist that is so key, because you only have to say 1 or 2 words that trigger people, and then they will say, so I had this issue of, well, I'm going to eat these ice creams because I feel I deserve it, because there is my partner sitting at the end of the garden enjoying himself, whereas I've worked all day, I'm exhausted, and I come in the house and the house is a tip. So, and she looked at me and she said, "So does he know that you feel like this?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, wouldn't you talk to him about it?" And I said, "No, I don't want to upset him." But she said, "Surely the way you're behaving is upsetting enough in the house. Everybody knows there's an issue of some sort, but you're not actually saying anything." And hearing her say that to me and realising what I was doing was ridiculous. And it's that sort of thing that EFT just highlights: the ridiculous, the crazy, the things that you are doing and you're telling yourself are wrong.
So it's like you're living your life by a certain set of unwritten rules, internalized rules, and living that way, and then through doing the EFT, it's kind of uncovering what rules you're imposing on yourself and what you can't share and that sort of thing.
The self-talk, the self-belief, the realization that actually what you're doing isn't working, even though you still keep doing it, thinking, well, this will work one day. You know, how long are you going to carry on doing that? Right. And I think the EFT really sort of pulls you up in the most gentle way possible, because you as the client are hearing what you're saying, you're hearing what you're believing, and you know that's not what you believe anymore. That's what you perceive yourself with, and it's not true. It's finding the truth now, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And she said, would you like to come again? And I said, yes, it's amazing. And she said, well, I'm going on holiday for 3 weeks. And you know, when you've decided, oh my God, this is just so fantastic, I just want to get on with it and deal with it and sort this out. And I thought, I've got to wait 3 weeks for my next appointment. I don't want to do that. And I actually came home and I said to my husband, I have got to find a place that teaches this.
Brilliant. So how much did you find that that training affected your work life in terms of what you went on to, did you use it in your work, and how much for your personal life?
It changed my personal life massively. I obviously went back to the lady and she said, well, clearly you've been doing the work. And I said, I went on the course. And she said, you don't need me anymore. You can do this. So it was mind-blowing, the change, and the change in the entire household. Realizing that I could stop myself from rising up that anger and stop feeling sorry for myself, knowing that actually I was making the choices to do the things that were making me upset. You know, for years, I remember my mother telling me years ago, you know, subtleties don't work. You need to say if, you know, what's bothering you and what you need from whoever in your family. And I used to say, yeah, but I don't want to upset them. And internally, I mean, I was doing horrific stuff to myself.
Absolutely. So you might have been doing behaviours because you were feeling angry with someone rather than telling them.
Yes, I'd go and eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you didn't want to be doing that in that way. So did you find that with EFT, you started to be able to speak directly and say what was on your mind, even if it meant challenging somebody or possibly upset?
Yes, but the thing with EFT is, because of doing the tapping, you take that emotion, that anger away, so that you can speak to somebody coming from a place of love. So there was none of that bursting into tears while you're talking about it and asking for something, being so angry that actually you're spitting feathers and they don't want to listen, they shut down immediately. So I was able to express myself without that emotion, which is what was stopping either the person I'm speaking to listening, or me being able to get the words out in the way I wanted to get them out. Yes. Calmly, coming from a place of love. It is that place of love, and being calm about it, and not making a fuss, not being dramatic, which stops people listening to you anyway.
So it sounds like you're saying that when you've got a lot of emotion about something, the way it would come out might be aggressive or destructive or dramatic, but not really how you'd want to come across. But
exactly,
using EFT and tapping and releasing that kind of excess charge in the emotion, you're then still giving the message, but in a more straight, calm way. And that's so. What effect has that had on your relationships? Being able to do that,
just massive, because it stops the brain fog, doesn't it? It allows you to work out a problem and see, well, if you do that, so basically I used to say to my husband, would you mind hoovering before, on a Saturday morning, can you hoover all downstairs before you go out and have your glass of wine in the garden, so that when I come home it's all done? He feels amazing because he's done something that has made me feel fantastic and less stressed. I feel amazing because I'm not coming in and thinking, I've been working on one, now I'm going to have to do that. It's completely changed the whole household. The kids stopped coming in and sneaking upstairs because, oh God, mum's cross, or, there's definitely an atmosphere. I mean, the dog knows, the children know, everybody knows if I'm pissed off, whereas I think I'm doing quite well holding it. Clearly not.
Or needing ice creams to hold it.
Yeah. I mean, the ice cream thing was horrific because I then spend every day the rest of the week going to the gym trying to lose the weight that I'd put on in literally 20 minutes. I'd eat 6 mint magnums.
Yeah, quite a price to pay. Yes.
Massive.
Would you say that... Did you personally need to check out a lot of research into EFT in order to take it seriously as a healing modality, a transformational tool, something you were going to...
No, I'm a really trusting person. If I trust something, then I don't need to know how it works. And whether that's laziness or just a knowing.
So the $1 million question is, what would make you trust it? Was it your own experience? Or... It
was my own experience. I mean, it was such a change in me in such a quick time. And that, honestly, it's the light bulb moments of just the tiniest little things. And you think, but if I ask that or do that, then it'll work. Whereas when you've got this anger in you, you can't see a way out. You just think, oh, well, poor me, I'm going to have to carry on like this until they wake up. Well, that's not going to happen. They're doing their own thing. They may have no idea of what is making you behave the way you are. Do you know what I mean? Unless we express ourselves, we need to express ourselves. Communication is so massive, and EFT allows you to be calm and to think of ways of expressing yourself without that drama.
Yes, because you've released the excess emotion, so you can think more clearly about your problem or issue and what you want to do or say about it. That's brilliant. So it's been massive for your communication, your relationships, and all that sort of thing.
But also a lot of past stuff as well. I will now, if I have something so for instance, my stomach, I had a real issue about my stomach, and just tapping on it made me realise why. I mean, that's magic, isn't it?
So are you saying, because there's a kind of thing in Western medicine perhaps that disease is a mistake and it's something that's happened and we treat the symptoms, or treat the symptoms. So are you saying that you had the symptoms of the stomach, you tapped on the symptoms, but you also uncovered what led to having the condition in the first place?
It was incredible, and then allowing yourself to feel into that and then let it go is just massive. I mean, the relief and the release and knowing really it's not your fault. It's just that's what we do as humans.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is a school of belief that believes that the body responds to shocks and conflicts that we have, especially if they're dramatic, unexpected. We have no strategy for them, and in the moment we're isolated, which is actually how trauma affects us. And there can be lots of such conflicts in life, not necessarily huge, big traumatic ones, and that the body tries to solve the psychological shock by doing certain things, whether it's growing something, adding cells, or a new process, taking cells away. And then we see symptoms that then might take us to the doctors and then have those symptoms treated. But where I've seen, such a lot of power in EFT is actually uncovering how a disease process might start in the first place. But this is a totally different paradigm from Western medicine, for all the knowledge there, and which is fantastic. But it's a different belief system, a different way of responding to dis-ease in the system. So anyway, I digress. So did you have any times when EFT just did not work for you or for someone else? And if so, did you know why that was the case? Did you have why or?
Initially, do you remember we were talking about certain people who are coming from a different training who then go and do EFT and it doesn't sit with them and they can't then go back and talk to their colleagues either about it because of what they've been learning. Mm-hmm. So on one of the courses, I was with a psychotherapist and we were working on something and she said, "Oh, I don't get that. I don't get that." And we were tapping away and it was clear as day as to what the problem was, but she wasn't going to go there. Now, the reason for that is because she had done 5-7 years training. I mean, a massive amount of training. And we discussed it afterwards. And I said, "Is it because you're pissed off that actually this is so simple and we're all doing this in 3 days and you've done years of training?" And by the end of it, she came up to me and said, "Yep, you got it. It really annoys me that there is something here that people are doing who've got no background in psychotherapy, and yet they're dealing with people's trauma." She said, "I find that really difficult."
This story that you're telling is very close to my story because I've got the background in psychotherapy. I spent the 7 years doing the training, writing up all the case studies. Yeah. And I was very sceptical when I came across EFT and thought it was some woo-woo nonsense and, even put my sister off going to see somebody because I said, that doesn't sound like proper therapy to me. And, I have so changed my tune since then. But I totally understand that. A bit about what you were saying earlier, it's when you experience results for yourself and whether or not you understand why it's working, it's so profound and it's so like, my goodness me, what's going on here? I want to know more about this. That took me to go and train from tapping on my husband's headaches and them just disappearing. And I kept trying to explain it away and think, well, it's nothing to do with this weird tapping thing, which I did in the book. But I totally get that experience. It's kind of, you don't quite believe something if it's that simple.
But I did have another client who he didn't, it didn't work for him in the fact, so he initially came to me for massage and Reiki. Then he went through a significant time feeling depressed, and I suggested that we could do a few tapping sessions with him. And he really didn't enjoy it. And he tried a couple of times and he said, "I just don't get it." However, he has now told so many people to come to me for EFT. So clearly there's got to be something in it.
Yes, interesting.
It wasn't for him, but he could see how it could help. Yes. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's a nice one. So do you think that the 3-day practitioner training is enough for somebody to prepare someone to work with clients in private practice?
For me, no. So I think probably 2 years later, I did another 3 days. So in the meantime, I hadn't done any EFT on anybody bar me.
Okay.
Because I didn't feel confident enough to do it.
So you actually felt like you needed to do more before you would think about doing it with other people. That's interesting.
Then I did level 3. Do you remember you did my video for me?
Yes.
And I was just going to do level 3, I think, a month later. So I did the level 3. And that is really, I had to do those 3 sessions before I felt confident enough to offer it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. What issues or clients do you know that you would not work with, and why? So if they came in, you might have some basic questions for them, but in the course of meeting them or even on the phone before, you find out certain things. What kind of clients would you not want to work with if you knew it about them?
I think people who are suicidal, I would worry that I wasn't qualified enough to support them. And I might be concerned that I would tip them. So that is really,
when you say
sort of
them, do you mean something like an abreaction where they have a powerful, perhaps they go into fight, freeze too much, or even lose touch with reality a bit, like a psychotic moment or episode, or that sort of thing? That would worry. Kind of informs what we find out in the first place, to know if we're a suitable practitioner for somebody, and if they're kind of within what we feel are our own personal limitations in training and experience, etc. But yes, because there is plenty of support groups on Facebook where practitioners can ask questions and get very fast answers. One of the things I've noticed about Facebook groups, even though some people hate Facebook, some people love it, whatever, it is a very quick place to get some responses. And I've noticed in some of the groups, people say, does anyone know anyone in the Chelmsford area or the such and such area who works with blah-de-blah? And very quickly, usually within a few minutes, there's people coming back and saying, oh yes, so-and-so, or so-and-so brilliant. And so there's good networking there, isn't there, to match up people with the right background, the right experience, the level of need or mental health incapacity, etc. I think that having regular clinical supervision is important as a place to take client work and to learn with a more experienced practitioner. And if so, do you think it's desirable or essential? I don't do it, and I do desire it, and I think it would be absolutely fantastic bi-monthly. I do I used to run a supervision group for massage in Birmingham, which was amazing. And I actually do a supervision with a couple of other therapists that completely different. So a nutritional therapist and an osteopath. So we have, because we're lone workers, we do that business of sitting and working out how we can do things either together, or if we've got a problem, or sorting things out. And that's really helped. But yeah, I think to have an EFT supervision would be fantastic. And we've said what you wouldn't work with. What do you think would help get EFT out more across the world and perhaps to be taken more seriously? I
think getting into the schools. I think schools is massive. Once people see their children changing, and also the children themselves see how easy something is, to help them see a different perspective. I think that is key. Getting into school environments where children will, they'll respond to it, they'll soak it up. They haven't got that negative, oh, well, I'm not going to do that because it's odd. They take it on normally, and I think that would be a really good way.
Absolutely. And at one time I wanted to do a pilot study, and I got a head interested, a super head, because my husband is a teacher, and when he learned EFT, he went into school and they were just coming up to their SATs tests, and he had them what I call turbo tapping, meaning they all put their words up, and he wrote it all up on the board, all their words for what was their feelings and thoughts around approaching doing the SATS tests. And of course I wanted there to be a control group, you know, the people, the year 6 class that didn't have that and the year 6 class that did have that, and there's kind of how they feel about going into it having done the tapping, and then there's the actual results. So there's kind of the emotional baseline change, and there's also was there any noticeable difference if you had 2 parallel classes, you know? Would you but I never actually pursued and did that, but he just said it was brilliant doing it with them, and he even did it with the whole school in assembly once.
Wow.
Would you work with clients online? I know that's a topical issue at the moment with lockdown, which we've all been in for 3 months now.
Yes, I am starting to. But as you're aware, it's something, you know, I'm having to learn to enjoy and like and get over myself and just do it. I mean, the person I had a client at the weekend, and it seemed to go very well. And we were dead on time, 90 minutes, and we were sorted. So, whereas possibly when I am with a client, we run over.
So if you were online and not face-to-face, would you kind of want to check more about their support systems, like how they might support themselves after the session, or have they got people around if stuff came up for them, or would you not be particularly any more concerned than face-to-face work in that respect?
It is a new thing, and actually the Tapathon really helped with that, because I was able to see what they tell people at the beginning, whereas I don't do that. You know, it's all about, it's your responsibility to keep hydrated and to make sure that you keep tapping if something gets overwhelmed. Whereas when I'm with them, I can start tapping for them, and they can cope with the overwhelm without having to think about doing anything. And so it's really quick. So that was quite useful. And it's obviously something I have to really, consider.
Yes. Okay, thank you. If you would like to know more about EFT, please subscribe to my channel and click the notifications bell. Thank you for watching.